Today's the first time that you have picked not just a song, but an album for me to cover. So I'm going to do what's required, and that's to have no jacket. Hey, and welcome to Acting is Reacting with me, JSB. It's time for a random foreplay where I spin an album on shuffle and choose 4 random tracks from the selections on offer. So today's album is celebrating its 40th anniversary in February 2025, in which I'm doing this recording, and it was chosen in a poll by viewers from 4 options. Perhaps unsurprisingly, you didn't go for one of the 3 albums on offer that wasn't one of the biggest selling of all time, but instead have plumped for No Jacket Required from Mr. Phil Collins. In an additional mini poll, you've also selected 1 track from this album which I will guarantee will be played, but we'll find out which one that is in due course. Now, if you didn't vote in the polls and would rather have had me do an album by the Hollies, Del Amitri, or the Tubes, those were the other choices, well, make sure you subscribe to the channel and keep an eye on the community tabs for future polls where you can have your voice heard. As it is for today, we're doing this one, so I hope you like it. So this album doesn't really need an introduction to anybody who was alive in the mid-80s. Like Phil in general, it and its singles were everywhere. I mean, I was only 4 at the time, and even I couldn't escape Studio or One More Night or the other big hits from this album. Not that I would have wanted to. And they've maintained steady popularity in the streaming age. They haven't got spectacular numbers on Spotify, but not shabby either. So this was Phil's 3rd solo effort, and it marked something of a departure as he decided to make a more, for the most part, upbeat and up-tempo album after a couple of quite serious ones, though there is still some light and shade amongst the tracks, as we may or may not discover, depending on what comes up for us. Despite being his biggest solo seller at 20 million plus copies, including 12 million in the US alone, where it's been certified diamond, in more recent years, Phil's come out to slam this as one of his least favourite of his own albums, although I bet he liked those royalty checks, huh? It was pretty well received by the critics at the time, and won Album of the Year at the Grammys, along with a couple of other trophies. But in more recent years, it's come in for criticism for being dated sounding and not wearing the years well. I mean, fancy a 1985 album sounding a bit dated. Well, that's other people, not us. And we are us, and we're going to see what we think of it 40 years later and decide for ourselves. Why not? Okay, for those who know me, I can be indecisive at times, so I really didn't know if I was going to include We Said Hello Goodbye as one of the tracks on here or not. In the end, I decided, yeah, sure. It was only a CD bonus track, but it's on the CD version that I own now. It wasn't on the vinyl version I grew up listening to, but yeah, hence my indecision. So it's there. Probably won't play it anyway, but I just wanted to let you know. So this means that there are 11 tracks for us to hear 4 from. So what will happen is I'll throw it on shuffle, and I will choose one of the first 2 songs to come up, and then after that it'll be a best of 3 scenario each time. I'm sure you're following this, but in case you're not, don't worry, it'll become obvious as we go along. So give that like button a boop as I fire up the album and have a look at our options for our first random track. So between these 2 for our starting point, we've got Doesn't Anybody Stay Together Anymore or Inside Out. So we're starting with a deep cut. I do like both of these tracks, but let's go for the one that was written in response to the fact that everyone Phil knew basically was going through divorces in the mid-80s, including his manager, friends, and himself a few years earlier. It is this one. Doesn't Anybody Stay Together Anymore? One of 3 tracks with guitarist Daryl Sturmer credited as co-writing, by the way. Yeah, well, I hope you approved of my first choice there. I certainly did, and that one holds up very well for me. Yeah, doesn't anybody stay together anymore? Featuring some stellar real live drumming from Phil. This album does get some criticism for the use of drum machines and the like on certain other tracks, which may or may not come up, but all real drums here, and the great Lee Sklar joining in on bass alongside Phil, and of course co-writer Daryl Stuermer on guitars as well, but it's not really a guitar-heavy track. And Phil sounds great vocally. He always did, he always does, he always will, probably, even though he can't even move these days. He still sounds good. Um, yeah, good one. So, as I say, that was a choice between just two tracks, and from now on it's one and three, which might make the choices harder, apart from the one where you've already pre-decided what it is for me, but we don't know which group of three that will be. We'll find out as we go along. So let's have a look at options for our second random track on our random foreplay today. So we have got One More Night, which was the first single in the States from this album and hit #1. We've got that CD bonus track, We Said Hello Goodbye, or we've got Long, Long Way to Go. I have a definite favourite amongst these three. It's not going to be the big single. It's going to be a song often described as one of his more popular songs not to be released as a single. So kind of deep cut territory. It was on my poll of songs that we had to hear, and I'm not sure if anybody voted for it actually, but hey, I would have done if I was choosing. So we're going to hear it now. It is, with some help from Sting on the backing vocals, not for the only time today. Here is Long, Long Way to Go. Simmons electronic drums on this track rather than the real ones we heard on the previous one. This is a moody Band Aid / Live Aid inspired track. This one feels more like it belongs on the next album, but seriously. But, makes for a change of pace on the album it's actually on. Here comes Sting. Song has a very cold ending, which is another way of saying it's very sudden. So let's see if I miss it or not. Made it. Okay, long, long way to go, and that is another favourite of mine from this album. We're going to get to some hits, I'm pretty sure. Well, we're definitely getting at least one. That is coming up. I think that is a very strong song. You could, as people have, criticise it for not offering solutions, but it's more a comment on how people are. And I think it's real because of that, especially the repeated refrain of switch it off if you want to. These terrible things are going on all around us. And at that time, it was just on the news a couple of times a day. I mean, these days, we're bombarded with information, and sometimes we do just want to switch it off, especially given who's become president in the States for a second time. It's very tempting to run away from what's happening in the world, and you can still ignore it if you want to, but it doesn't stop the fact that things are happening that shouldn't be. And yeah, Phil and Sting sound great together. So, as I say, spoiler alert, we'll hear them together again a bit later because you asked me to play the other song that they're on. So let's carry on and see if we can find a more well-known song for us for our third selection. I think we can, but let's see. So, next choices are between these three. Only You Know and I Know, which is another deep cut, but it is tempting. But it goes up against Don't Lose My Number and I Don't Want to Know, or I Don't Wanna Know. Now, I do actually love all three of these tracks as well, but I am going to go for a single that wasn't released in the UK, and I have no idea why, because it reached number 4 in the US. It's possibly my favourite on the album, in fact. It is Don't Lose My Number. So Phil has said that the lyrics for this song were improvised and he himself does not fully understand what they mean. But I think you can fill in the pieces of the story about Billy. Billy, Billy, don't you lose my number. Hi, solo from Daryl Sturmer here. And more great wheel drumming from Phil. Alright. Don't Lose My Number. My favourite single from this album, but not the viewer's favourite, because that is going to be in our final selection of 3. You might be able to guess what it is, or you might be close but no cigar. So the final 3 tracks we have are Susudio, Who Said I Would, which wasn't a single from this album but was released as a live single quite a few years later, or Take Me Home. Now, one of these was runner-up in the song poll part of the equation, and that was Susudio. So we're not hearing that one today. So what we are hearing is the poll winner, Hopper album closer, and a song sometimes misunderstood but apparently inspired by One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So let's enter the insane asylum and Take Me Home. At almost 6 minutes, this is the longest track on the album, but it was made longer still for a 12-inch remix. But yeah, I think this is enough. More of a programmed drum sound on this one.
So long I've been waiting, still don't know what for. There's no point escaping, I don't worry anymore.
Sedation will do that for you.
I can't come out to find you, I don't like to go outside. They can turn off my feelings, like they're turning off the light.
Kind of obvious when you know what it's about. A lot of people, including me, didn't for a long time. Some more tasty guitar from Daryl Sturmer. And I promised it, more Sting on backing vocals. But we've also got Peter Gabriel and the far less famous Helen Terry in the mix on the vocal side of things now. Although that just sounded like Phil himself. They do turn up, I promise. There's everybody. Probably enough voices that you don't need mine added to the mix, huh? Yeah, I could have been in Milli Vanilli. Now we're getting both programmed and live drums together. So, you know, he was using technology of the day, but making it work for the sound and feel he wanted, so works for me. Alright, well, we're pretty much at the end of the music, but let's have a wrap up and see what we think of this album, having heard just over a third of it. Alright, finishing up there with Take Me Home, which did indeed win the song poll portion of the poll after you'd chosen the album and the other poll, if you see what I mean. Anyway, thanks for choosing that one, because I probably wouldn't have selected it myself, and it was great. So that one reached number 7 in the US and 19 in the UK. The singles tended to do better stateside than they did at home, and that's the pattern that would follow the following year with the Invisible Touch singles from that Genesis album. And yeah, I mean, I don't play this album a heck of a lot. iTunes helpfully tells me that I last spun the whole thing in May of 2023, so just under 2 years ago. And hearing it today, I'm asking myself, why? Because it's damn good. And I think it holds up very well. I mean, yes, you can tell that it's from the 80s, but it's not a hideously overproduced 80s album. The songs are strong, the vocals are particularly good. Phil's drumming both real and even the electronic ones work, but the real ones in particular are great. And he's got a sturdy bunch of musicians around him, including, as I've said, the great Lee Sklar on bass. And I mentioned Daryl Sturmer a few times as well for obvious reasons. So yeah, you know, I've got a theory that Phil comes in for some unnecessary hate because he was so ubiquitous for so long that uh, people don't hate on things that they don't have to have forced down their throat. Uh, there can be music that you'd like an awful lot less if you heard it, but you never hear it, so you don't know you hate that. But someone like Phil comes along, and he can become a whipping boy for people who don't like popular or commercial, in the same way that Taylor Swift is these days. I mean, it's not uncommon, even on my own wonderful videos where I express an opinion that someone disagrees with, and they will in the comments say something stupid like, "Oh, well, you might think that, but then you probably like Taylor Swift as well." Yeah, because some people, and very few of them, to be fair, are complete knobs. Yeah, basically my point is, the bigger you become, the more people like you, but the more people really, really don't. And those can be the most vocal ones, and not always the ones that you should be listening to. So I hope Phil's own dislike of this album supposedly is not a result of that. Um, I think it's, yeah, really strong. Not just the songs we heard, which were all great, but the songs we didn't hear. Either way, I hope you like the choices that I made along the way, but if not, let me know down below. And indeed, either way, let me know which songs you would have chosen given the same choices. Or just what your favourites are in general from this album, or in general. Or anything else you want to say. Feel free. It's a free country. Well, mine still is, anyway. Um, anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed it, so thank you for selecting that album. Um, the runner-up, I'll probably do a song from in the next week or so, and you'll find out what that is when I get to it. Meanwhile, there's suggestions floating around my head from YouTube as to what you can watch next from me, and I shall just say thanks for watching today and bye for now, but not for long.
Acting is reacting. This does not mean acting again.